There's two types of people. There's the action takers and the note takers. The note takers come along to sessions and they make notes, but then that's it. Whereas the action takers go away and do something. And Teresa's one of those people who is an action taker. She pretty much, anything I tell her, she goes and does it. And then she gets results, which is no real surprise. You have to take action first.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a special one. Our guest is a value pricing expert, chartered accountant, public speaker, and author of many great books. He also has a terrific new training that will launch on October 27th called the Business Advisory Masterclass, which he will describe in our conversation. Mark Wickersham, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for the invite, Michael. It's awesome to be here again. These are always great fun.
It's great to have you, and I couldn't get the words out of my mouth there. Mark Wickersham, welcome back to the podcast. Yes, and you've been on. This is your third time on the podcast, and every single time you've been on, Mark, people have commented how much they've gotten out of the podcast episode that you've been on as our guest. And for those listening, if you're curious and want to listen to those previous, you can go to episode 34 and 138. And Mark, it's great to have you back.
It's great to be here. It's going to be great fun. And this time I'm going to be doing it from a different country. I'm in Portugal right now, which is my new home.
Tell us about Portugal. It's your new home. You've been down there now almost a year, or how long have you been there?
It's 6 months now, pretty much just coming up to 6 months. It's been something I've always wanted to do because in the UK it's kind of a bit cold and damp and wet, particularly in the winter, and so. Doesn't suit me. It's nice blue sky here. It's lovely.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's fabulous to hear, and I always love hearing about people living out their dream.
Thank you.
That's what this podcast is really about: is helping our bookkeeping community build a business they love and live out their dreams that they have for their life. And Mark, you've been helping a lot of bookkeepers and accountants around the world build better businesses and live out their dreams. So we consider you a friend and advocate of our community. And let's maybe talk a little bit about that. I'd love to hear some of the success stories of probably many of our listeners that have been have participated in both your free and as well paid programs. And I've heard lots of stories through the grapevine of how their lives are being changed when they get power around pricing and when they get power around advisory. Tell us a little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay. So just as you were saying that, I'm just opening up my Facebook group. I love success stories. That's what kind of drives me, making a difference to people's lives, changing people's lives. And so I've got a success story just a few hours ago now in one of my Facebook groups from a wonderful lady called Gina Rennie. And she said, reprice an existing client from hourly to flat rate. One of my behavior rewards, and I'll explain that in a short while, one of my behavior rewards is a percentage discount for paying the year in advance. And I'm happy to report my first annual payment. Woohoo! Mark, your teachings have totally transformed my expectations for myself and my clients. And I'm super excited for continued success on this value pricing journey. So that's an example of someone who I've only just started working with, but got a result straight away. And another one that came in just the other day, because we both know, obviously, Teresa is an amazing person, Teresa Slack, and she posted one the other day, which was, if I can just find it, she said, and I'm struggling to find it, but I know what the result was. She said, I've just used your software and to reprice an existing client. And she said, I got a 54% increase in price. And I get those, I mention those because they're just recent ones off the top of my head, but I get success stories like that if not every day, at least every single week. And it's really nice to see that people are doing stuff, taking action, trusting in the system, getting the results, and then sharing those results, because the more they share it, the more it inspires others. Because I know there are so many people struggling with pricing, and it's great when people share this. People in the same situation are sharing their results, because it just inspires.
It absolutely does. And I'll guarantee you, both of those people are likely working with you because they heard somebody else share their success. And they likely said to themselves, gee, if that person can do it, maybe I can do it. And they go and try, and they probably fail a few times, but then keep at it, working with your philosophies. And then eventually they hit success. And then all of a sudden everybody's saying, oh my goodness, you're so successful. How did you do it? Right? It started with someone sharing how they had overcome their fears or their barriers and become successful. So if anything, I think every episode that we've been on has probably been around helping people identify that you're not going to the moon with these concepts. If one person can do it, every person can do it. And likely it's just fear that's been in the way, or maybe a lack of knowledge, perhaps. But those two combined, fear and a lack of knowledge, leaves people stuck.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. I think that a lot of it is it's a mindset shift. I think that it's a belief issue. It's a confidence issue. I think confidence is the single thing, biggest thing holding us back. It's a lack of confidence. I remember when I ran my accounting firm years ago, and I started in '96 as a sole practitioner, and I had no idea how to price. I hated the pricing conversation. I feared it. I tried to avoid it, and that was because I had a lack of confidence. And that really stems from lack of confidence is when we don't have enough knowledge and systems. If we can get the knowledge and the systems, suddenly we become more confident. And that's one of the things that I see over and over again in the success stories themes, people saying, I now feel more confident about pricing. And as you get more confident, you get better results.
That's absolutely right. And, Mark, with your work that you do, you're helping people really increase the what they charge. And I mean, this is like a remarkable thing that someone can do in their business. When you think about it, if you're charging X amount today and you increase that, as Teresa shared, and we have a whole bunch of questions from Teresa coming up here by chance, right? She's very active in our community, and when we posted about you coming on the show, she fired like 3 questions, and a few others came from a few other people. But 54% on that example that's a game changer.
Absolutely.
Not today, but for like the lifetime of that client engagement.
Absolutely, because when you charge higher prices, I think that because we're too cheap as a profession, and I know we are, because most accountants, most bookkeepers are working crazy hard and not making enough money. The root cause is pricing. But when we can put our prices up, it then creates the space. It gives us the time then to start actually going above and beyond and doing more for our clients, giving advice, helping build a better business. And we can't start doing that until we've created that space. If we're pricing too cheap, then we end up just working crazy hard just to do the compliance work, just to get the books done. And then there's no time for anything else. So I almost feel we owe it to our clients to put our prices up so that we can then create the space in our lives, the time, the budget to go and do more for our clients and change their lives.
I agree. And here's the thing that I often think about. If a person is not charging enough, then it will lead to either business failure, not likely business failure in this industry because, you can keep going. It's more likely human failure where you burn out, you get, you just quit, right? Because it's not giving your business isn't giving you what you need. And so it's like anything. If you cut off oxygen or food or water to the human being, they perish, right? Well, similar for a business. If the business isn't getting what it needs, it will perish. And then the greatness that you as a listener do for these business owners, they need you. It's a huge demand for bookkeepers, huge, and incredibly essential to the health and well-being of any business is having someone helping empower business owners around their finances. If you're not doing that for them, that's a big loss. So when you get the pricing right, Mark, back me up if I'm on the right track here. If you get the pricing right and you're getting everything you need, you're only going to be better for those business owners.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. We need to get our own house in order first. We need to make sure that we have a sustainable business, a profitable business, because that enables us to do so much more for our clients.
Absolutely. So, Mark, we've been talking a little bit about pricing, and of course, that's been your main area of focus for several years. You've written several books on it. You're well known around the world. How could we not start there? But you also help people with advisory services. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I said earlier, I started my accounting firm in '96, and as a sole proprietor, and I did compliance work. That's all I did. Until 1999, I met somebody who kind of put me on a path of, look, we can do more. We can do more for our clients. We can help them run more successful businesses. And that was a message that really resonated with me at the time. And so I started doing a lot of consulting work, advisory work in my accounting firm, which completely changed the results. I then sold that business to my client managers. Steve and Jonathan bought it off me. And I then started teaching the accounting profession. I've been doing that for 20 years, primarily, as you say, on value pricing. In fact, for the last 10 years, that's pretty much all I teach is pricing now. But I have noticed in the last year or so that there's been an increase of questions from my audience around how do I do advisory? How do I help my clients? And because I went through that myself back in the late 90s of shifting my practice from compliance to more advisory consulting, I thought, well, I can share my experience of how I did it and the results that I got. And so I started doing that about a year or two ago. And I've had so much great feedback that I decided, well, why not run the Business Advisory Masterclass, which I'm going to be running very soon, and giving people the skills, because we do have to change as a profession. I think I'm not one of these people that thinks compliance is dead. I think compliance will always be around. But I also think that if we want to differentiate ourselves from our competition from the others, we have to do more. We have to add more value. We have to create more. And I think that if we can start helping our clients become more successful, that positions us as being premium. We can win more business. We can win the better quality business. And that helps us to increase our prices because we're adding value, changing lives, and build a more successful firm.
Agreed. And I mean, it's a natural trajectory, I think, to advisory, because compliance work is compliance work. Yes, has to be done. It doesn't mean that it's no longer important for someone to desire to do advisory work, but that work still needs to be done as a foundation to the advisory work that will be done. But like any business, going and saying, look, I have these customers. What do they need? How can we serve them? What will make them better? It's a natural progression. And I think for many that are advanced mastery type bookkeepers that are great at what they do, understand it deeply, and have the skills to grow out a business, it's work that they likely enjoy, because if you're able to help them on compliance and you get satisfaction by doing that, helping them at advisory level where you're really helping them shift gears in their business to a better outcome for the business owner, you're going to be even more satisfied with that.
Absolutely. And I think it's fun work when you get, just like I said earlier, I thrive on the success stories I get. And I think that for the bookkeepers that I've worked with that have gone into this area, it's when you get those businesses that say, thank you, you've helped me to improve my cash flow, to make my business better. And so it's more satisfying work because of the fact that people thank us because we've made a difference to their lives.
Love that. I would love, if you're listening to this episode, I would love to hear people's success story. Like we've been talking about success stories, but let's hear your success stories you're hearing from your clients. And if you're not hearing them, start asking for them. Ask your clients to tell you when they've had a breakthrough. But if you've helped a business owner and they said thank you, go to our Facebook group, The Successful Bookkeeper, post that in there, tag Mark. Mark, you're in this group. Tag Mark and share what your business owner is saying about about you. You help them get things cleaned up. You help them identify opportunities inside of the business from a financial standpoint, whatever it might be. We'd love to hear about it. And tag us both in that post. And let's make this about sharing success. Because, Mark, I know you're raising the profile of bookkeepers. When you help a bookkeeper price better, they're able to offer better services. They're going to be better at what they do. When you help them deliver advisory services, you help build the brand of bookkeepers. And we're doing the same thing over here at the Successful Bookkeeper. We're trying to raise the ocean here so that all boats rise. And if we can get business owners talking about how great their bookkeeper is, how great their accountant is, that's going to help the industry overall.
Absolutely. I think the bookkeepers are in a privileged position because they get access to the business owner, their books and records on a frequent basis. They get access to information that nobody else can. And also because they're working frequently, they can build that relationship. So they're in the perfect place to start to transform and move towards giving advice as well, and then start to differentiate themselves and add huge value to their clients. So I think there's a huge opportunity for the bookkeeping profession. And one of the reasons I think that's important is one of the things I hear a lot from bookkeepers, and probably not your audience so much, but bookkeepers generally have a real, I said earlier about confidence and mindset and belief. And a lot of people struggle with pricing because they think, well, I'm just a bookkeeper. And we have to change our mindset because no, you're much more than that. I think about my bookkeeper that does my bookkeeping. And to me as a business owner, she's priceless because it means I don't have to do that. I know I'm an accountant. I could do my own books, but it's so much easier for me to just say, look, can you just sort this out? Bookkeepers are much more valuable than they sometimes give themselves credit for. And I think they have to change that belief, that mindset.
I agree 100%. And yes, if it's one thing that's catastrophic to the success of their own business, it's that thought, that mindset. I'm just a bookkeeper. And thanks for mentioning it, Mark. That's likely one of the foundational steps, as you said, about shifting your mindset as a business owner. And if any business owner went out there thinking that I'm just this, I'm just that, I mean, you limit your ability to help others. And it's what I love about this community is that feel free to be that way and come here and share and be transparent about it, because the first way to solve any problem is to identify it, embrace the problem. And so you can do it here in this community because we're the people in this community have been there and have overcome that and are willing to help you, the listener, if that's you, overcome it as well. Now, Mark, the program that you're running, the Business Advisory Masterclass, is it the second time you've run this masterclass?
Yeah, it is, second time.
Tell us how the first one went. I'd love to hear what people got out of it.
Yeah, well, the first one was interesting. I nearly didn't run it. I'd been wanting to run it, and I'd planned to run it, and then of course we had this COVID situation, and I started thinking, is it
that COVID business? My goodness!
And so
what a disruptor!
Right thing to do. Is it the right time to launch something? And so I went and asked a number of people I respected, and people said, no, Mark, you need to do this. People need this help. So we ran it in May when I was in lockdown in the UK, and we kind of, because we hummed and hawed whether to do it or not, it was all very last minute. We pulled it together, and actually it was a huge success. It was great fun to do, and I think that one of the things that I do believe is that when times are tough, whether it's recessions, whether it's pandemics or whatever, that's actually the time to rise, because the business community needs their bookkeeper more than ever. They need support, they need help. And so when times are tough, that's a great opportunity to start to look at advisory work, how we can help people. So it was great fun putting the whole thing together. I had a blast teaching it. My goal was to try and teach it in a way where I covered all the bases, because I think if you're going to run a successful advisory service, there are really 7 key components that you have to get right. And when you do get those things right, then you can build something that's really successful and something that changes people's lives, helps clients.
I love it. What are the 7 foundational topics?
Well, the first one is how do we spot the opportunities in the first place? I mentioned earlier that the bookkeepers are in a great position because they have access to all the information, the financial records, and bookkeepers are experts with numbers. They understand the language of business, numbers, and therefore with access to all that information and being comfortable with numbers, they should be able to look at a set of financial statements, a profit and loss account, and understand what's going on inside a business. But actually what I found is a lot of people say to me, actually, I don't know how to interpret the numbers. So one of the things I teach is, well, how do you look at a set of financial statements and see what's going on in a business? And this is the skills like looking at trends in a business, looking at the key important ratios. So I teach how to interpret the numbers, how to understand them better so we can see what's really going on, so we can spot the opportunities where a client needs help. Because interestingly, sometimes we can look at a business and sales are going up all the time. The last 5 years, sales have gone up, and we might think that's a successful business. That doesn't need help. But it could be that it's a business that's running out of cash fast, and it may be not with us in 12 months' time. And we need to understand that and see what are the trends and understand the ratios. So that's the first thing. We need to understand that. Then once we've spotted the opportunities, the second thing we have to do is figure out, so what are we selling? What is business advisory? And I think that's a question I get so frequently. What is advisory? So we need to figure out, well, what is it? And we need to turn that into something that we can package up, something that we can explain to somebody, and so that someone says, that's exactly what I want. So that's the second step. We have to know how to package it up and know what we're selling. Then we have to understand, how do we communicate the value? How do we explain what we do, explain the value of what we do? Because the challenge with advisory work is that business owners have probably never bought it before. They've bought bookkeeping. So if they change bookkeepers, they kind of know what to expect. Most people know what bookkeeping is, but many businesses have never had someone do business advisory. And so we need to make sure that we have a process for building the value, so that when we then reveal our price, which should be a high price because we can change lives, it's not a huge shock. So we have to be good at the communication side. Then we have to work out, so how are we going to sell this advisory stuff? And so we need a sales process. And one of the things I know about our profession, and I was the same in my practice, is we hate selling. We fear selling. And one of the great things is about advisory, we don't have to do selling. We just have to inspire the client, demonstrate with numbers, show people some numbers so that they say, wow, can I really get those results? What do I do next? So that's kind of the selling process I teach. It's about inspiring people. And then we have to figure out, okay, so the client wants to buy, how do we price it? So obviously there's a pricing component, which is I think I'm up to number 5. And then 6 is, okay, so the client's now bought, they've agreed to pay me this amount every single month. What do I now do? So there's the delivery piece of it. What do we do when we get a business advisory engagement? What do we do to get in return for those payments? And then finally, the 7th thing I teach is, now you're running an advisory service. How can we use that as part of our marketing to win more clients, better quality clients? Because when you start adding more value to people, when you start changing lives, when you start collecting success stories, and I loved what you said earlier, Michael, about posting in the Facebook group an example of a story where you've helped a client. That's marketing gold, that is. Everybody should be collecting success stories. As you start collecting success stories about how you've helped clients, then you want to build that into your marketing, because that's going to help you attract more clients and more of the right type of clients. So there you go. There's a very quick, the 7 key areas that I look at.
It's remarkable. And you're doing this. We're going to have link, of course, in the show notes. And this is totally free.
Yes. Absolutely. I run it. We will decide that we will now run it every 6 months. So we did it way back in May. We're running it very soon, and then if it's another success, which I know it will be, then we may run it a couple of times in 2021 as well.
Remarkable. Now, I just love this, and I want to do a shout out for you. So many people in our community have participated in these programs. You have a whole bunch of paid programs where you really help people get it done. But your free programs, I mean, lots of people give away free stuff. But you, Mark, have built an amazing amount of information out there on YouTube, different your Facebook groups, just incredible value. And there's been handfuls and handfuls of people that have come to me and said, I learned this from Mark, and they haven't given you any money at all. Now, I always, I know that the more value you give, the more it comes back to you, and that's how you operate. But I got to say, I got one great story of a person who attended one of these free master classes that you did. It wasn't the business advisory program, but it was your pricing, how to price bookkeeping. Literally, this person went to your session, did the full session, watched a lot of your other free material, and within 2 weeks had created a whole new way of pricing inside of their bookkeeping business. And I mean, that was completely free to them, the time and of course just their time, but you gave this away for nothing. And here they went away, did the work, and 2 weeks later, they've got this massive outcome where they're charging like 20, 30, 40, 50% more for the work that they're doing. And they have happy clients, happily paying for it. So a shout out to you. And I will say to our listener, it will be value for you, time well spent, great investment into your business to sign up for these programs. And we support, the Successful Bookkeeper community supports Mark because of these results. And so I want everyone that's interested in this to get onto this masterclass and learn from Mark about how you can take this on in your own business.
Well, thank you so much for that story. That's it's stories that inspire me. And because I'm an accountant myself, I've been in this industry for. I only work with accountants and bookkeepers. That's it. I never help anybody else. I'm so passionate about this particular industry, having been in it myself for the whole of my professional life. And so my goal is I just want to change the lives of the profession, make the profession a better place. And if some people choose to then join my paid for programs, then that's great. It means I can afford to carry on helping people in the way that I do.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And so many have worked with you as well on your paid programs, and you have several of them, but the results are remarkable and incredible. And of course, what's the difference between free and paid? I like to think the free gives all the information you need, but if you want that extra support, guidance, accountability, and all the tools and all of that stuff figured out for you, then of course that's what you pay for to get it done right, get it done quickly. But by all means, you can move your business by attending these programs. And so that's the first step. And I always say, you know what? Any thought leader that's out there that's working in an area that you want to improve in your business, start with the free stuff, right? Get the foundational knowledge. I mean, you've got books out, Mark, and we'll have links to your books as well. Start with those if you need be. Whatever it is, consume all of the information that's out there, and then you're better prepared when you actually get into the program and start paying for the services. Now, Mark, you have a lot of fans out there, and one of your big fans, and a person that I know, has transformed her business as a result of working in your programs. Her pricing, she got her pricing right. She's got like 12 staff now, I think. She was not always that way, and her name's Teresa Slack, and she would be the first to share that. This has been remarkable results working with you. And she's from Ontario, Canada, and she passed along. We asked some questions. Mark's coming on the podcast. We'd love to get some questions and understand what people would like to ask. And she thought a couple of great questions here. I'm going to start with the first one that you have created. She was asking about your new pricing software to help accounting professionals price better. Let's hear about it.
Okay. Yeah, Teresa's an extraordinary lady, and I've had the privilege to help her and work with her for a few years now. And you're right, her story's not always been a huge success. Just like my story, most of us struggle to start with, but it's an inspiring story, what she's achieved and what she's continuing to achieve. So I created some brand new software this year to help people price, because people struggle with the pricing piece. And so some people may have heard I had a piece of software called Cloud Pricing, and we made the decision that we'd basically rebuild it from the ground up. We rebuilt it at the start of 2020. And and launched it in July 2020 to a small number of people, the people in my pricing academy. And we actually give it away completely free to the people in my pricing academy, the Value Pricing Academy, and the Bookkeepers Pricing Academy. They get it for free. And that's, I think, that story I said earlier, to how Teresa got that 54% increase. She was using the software. It's designed to give you the confidence by having a system, a confidence that you can sit down in front of a client and they can see how the price builds up. Because when you create transparency, when the client can see how the price is building up, that transparency creates credibility and trust. It's not like you're making a number up off the top of your head. There's a science behind it, and so involving the client in the pricing process makes it much, much easier. There's less chance that they will haggle, that they'll negotiate, because it's the computer coming up with the price. It's not you making something up. But even if the price is too expensive, there are things built into the software that allow you to make changes and change the package in ways until the client eventually says yes. So so we launched that a few months back. At the moment, just to people in my pricing academies, but we will, and I can't say when yet, Michael, but at some point we will make it available to others. At the moment, I want to make sure that with the software, my priority is helping people in my pricing academy. And the reason for that, and I think the mistake I made with cloud pricing, I want to get it out to everybody as fast as I possibly could. It was an impatience thing. And then what I realized is I got lots of people say, I can't figure this out. And when I ask questions, I realized it's because they didn't understand value pricing. If you don't understand value pricing, you won't understand how to use the software. It's as simple as that. And so you have to start to understand what value pricing means. I had someone once say with my previous software, they said, this cloud pricing is rubbish. I can't see where I put my hourly rate in it. And I thought, they don't get it. So it'll be out sometime soon. Watch this space and look out. It's called Effective Pricing.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And of course, you have a Facebook group. People can go and get into that Facebook group and then be updated, get into your list, your email list for updates as well. Highly recommend that. It's remarkable what it's doing for people inside of your programs. And the fast track, obviously, go work with Mark and get into his program and get using this. It is making a difference for people. Now, I will say we mentioned Teresa, and recently, Teresa and her sister and business partner, Connie Smith, they won Firm of the Year with the Professional Association, Certified Professional Bookkeepers of Canada. They won Firm of the Year just recently, and Teresa won the Professional Leader of the Year. And I would say, she is a Pure Bookkeeping licensee. She's done a lot of work with Pure Bookkeeping, building systems and process in her business and the hiring systems and whatnot that she's used inside of her business. But, she's been working with you in your program. And I would say, Mark, that's the type of work that you're doing, is you're working and helping people gain confidence, change their mindset, and really grow their business. I mean, Teresa's a really fabulous example of when people do the work and when they find mentors and tools and things that can really help their business, it can happen very quickly, and it can be whatever the mind can create inside of their dreams. So another big kudos to you, Mark, and congratulations to both Teresa Slack and Connie Smith and Financially and all the success that they're having. They're very beautiful, wonderful people as well. So I just love seeing great people like that win.
Absolutely, and they deserve all the success because they epitomize for me what is a great student. They come to my sessions, Teresa comes to my sessions, and then I talk a lot about, there's two types of people. There's the action takers and the note takers. The note takers come along to sessions and they make notes, but then that's it. Whereas the action takers go away and do something. And Teresa's one of those people who is an action taker. She pretty much, anything I tell her, she goes and does it. And then she gets results, which is no real surprise. You have to take action first.
And for a teacher like yourself, that's wind in the sails, right? It's what makes your job so much more enjoyable and satisfying, is to see students taking the knowledge and running with it. Now, she had another question that I think is really was at the core of what happened with cloud cloud pricing that you mentioned, which was understanding value pricing. She would love for you to share with our community, what is the difference between fixed fee pricing and value pricing? Aren't they the same?
A lot of people think they are, and I think that's one of the big misconceptions in our profession, that they are the same, but they're not. There's really only two ways to price, and they are, number one is cost plus pricing, and number two is value pricing. Cost plus is where we start with costs first. We add up our costs, we add on a hoped for profit margin, and that's magically our price, of which time-based billing falls completely into that camp as a form of cost plus pricing. Value pricing starts at the other end. It looks at the customer first. What does the customer want? What's the customer value? And we price based on the value, not our costs. So we have those two ways to price, cost plus pricing and value pricing. So fixed pricing is just a pricing model. There are many, many pricing models: time-based billing, fixed pricing, dynamic pricing, percentage pricing, contingent pricing. And there are so many different pricing models. And all the pricing models all fit into either the cost plus pricing camp or the value pricing camp, or sometimes a hybrid of the two. So fixed pricing is the way that the profession does it, and sometimes it's called flat fees, is really just a form of cost plus pricing. In other words, when somebody has a fixed price for something, let's say the fixed price is for doing some cleanup work and it's $2,000, I would ask the question, so where's that number come from? And very often the answer is, well, based on my experience, I've kind of guessed how long it might take, and I think it might take this long, so that's 2,000. And I applaud that because it's fairer than time-based billing. The problem with time-based billing is the customer doesn't know the price till the work's finished. It's not fair on the customer. At least giving a fixed price means the customer has certainty up front. It's a fairer way of pricing, but it's still cost plus mentality. The only difference is we're giving a price up front based on our best guess, our estimate of how many hours it'll take, our costs. And that's why fixed pricing is normally a form of cost plus pricing, the way the profession does it. I think the confusion is because with value pricing, to value price, you do need to give a price up front, but not always. Sometimes you can value price without giving a price up front. Percentage pricing is a good example. So percentage pricing is used in, I guess you call it real estate. If you're selling a house, certainly in the UK, if you want to sell your house, then you would pay a percentage of the sale proceeds. So you have no idea what the price is up front, but it's still value pricing because the more they can get for the sale of your house, the more they get in terms of a fee. So there's this confusion. There is this confusion that people assume that just because value pricing, you have to give a fixed price, which you don't, because it could be percentage pricing. But because of that, they think that the two things are the same, and they're not. We have to. I think fixed pricing is a good place to start if somebody's already on time-based billing. If you're on time-based billing and you're now wanting to make the leap to value pricing, one of the things I've discovered from trying to teach this for 20 years is that if I say to an accountant or a bookkeeper that's wedded to their timesheet, that's priced based on the hour, if I try to teach them to move to value pricing, it's too big a step and people really struggle. So moving to fixed pricing is a good first step. I applaud that and I welcome fixed pricing because that means having a system to give a price up front. But just be aware, it's not value pricing. It's just a stepping stone. We have to do other things to start building value in.
I love that. And it actually brings up a question from one of our community members on the Successful Bookkeeper podcast, Sherry Thomason. And she said, what would you set pricing at if you are just setting up a bookkeeping business to do compliance work to start before you've built up a reputation as an expert?
Okay, interesting question. I remember when I started my accounting firm in 1996, one of the mistakes I think people make, and I understand why because I did the same thing, is when we start out our business, we usually have very small costs. We might start off on doing the bookkeeping on the kitchen table. I started off in 96. I had a spare bedroom. I bought a computer, I bought a desk, and I started my accounting practice. And because we have low costs, we think that we can go with low prices because what we want to do is build a business. We want to win customers. So we go in with lower prices. We compete on price. And that's a mistake that I made because if you think about from the other, if you think about the value side of things, from the customer's point of view, just because you're starting out, does that mean you're less valuable than someone who had an established business for 20 years? Not necessarily. It may be that you've started your bookkeeping business, you've done other businesses, you've built up experience, business experience, you kind of know things. Just because your business is new doesn't mean that you can't deliver value and change people's lives in the same way that someone's been running a 20-year-old bookkeeping business. And so when we think about the value we can deliver, if we really do believe, I said to you earlier, it's a mindset shift, it's a belief issue. If we can believe that yes, we are worth it, we have some knowledge that can really help people, then we need to recognize that and be confident with our pricing. And we shouldn't be cheap just because we're starting out.
I agree. And, even compliance work, I mean, it's not a dirty word. You can't get to the good stuff if you got garbage. If the books are garbage, you can't do any of the advisory work. You can't do tax planning. You can't understand the health of your business. It's foundational, important work, and not everybody can do it. It's not like I can just walk down the street, pick somebody, and say, "Hey, come do my compliance work over here," and they'll do it right. I mean, even that, it takes years of being a bookkeeper, doing the training and understanding all of the puts and takes of things that can happen in a business, and knowing the taxation rules and different things that have to happen in order to get it done right. You think that's not valuable, but it really is. And so it's just more, Sherry, it's just more of this, well, gee, maybe I'm just a bookkeeper and I don't have value. You do have value. And most of the listeners that are listening right now have a ton of value. You're undervaluing yourself. And so I love, Mark, the way you've handled that and addressed it. And what would be one great resource for Sherry right now out of your, trailer trunk of free resources online? I mean, there's so many of them, but where could you point a person like Sherry that wants to just get off on a solid footing on pricing, following your philosophies? Is it your book? Is it a YouTube piece that we can go look at?
It's a great question. I certainly, and you touched on it earlier, when people say, where should I start with your stuff? My advice, I would start with the free stuff. So go and explore my YouTube channel. There are hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. Join the Facebook group and just start asking questions of me and others in the group. So you could certainly do that. And the other thing that I do is I run a free webinar every single month, usually on value pricing, but actually this month it's on social media just because that's what the audience requested last time. So I have a free webinar every single month, and I'm happy to give you the link. You can put it in the show notes, and then
please do.
I have some people that come along every single month just to the free webinars, and they put lovely comments in at the bottom. So I know it's delivering value, and I just love the opportunity to serve the profession.
I love it. And really quickly, there was another question around, some tips around where they struggle. This was from Teresa. 3 tips to help accounting professionals that are struggling to move to value pricing. And I'm going to give one tip. I'm going to boil it down for you, Mark. One tip: register for the Business Advisory Masterclass. It's free. If you're not there yet, you're going to get an insight into where you can get to, where you can go with this business and what's available to you. And if you are there, you're going to get the foundation of what you need to know in order to start delivering advisory services in your business. It's completely free. It will be remarkably amazing, because I know that, because Mark has done so many trainings for our community, and they've all been amazing, and they've all been really highly regarded. So this is going to be well time spent for you. So that's my tip for that question, Mark. Sorry to steal away your time there, but I really want to mention that and get people to go and get that. And even for you, Sherry, you're just getting started, but a program like this likely will be valuable just to see how it's all working, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it. And Mark only does it twice a year. So, Mark, this has been fabulous. I absolutely love the tips and advice that you've given. Thank you so much on behalf of our listener community. Thank you for all the work you do to help bookkeepers around the planet do better at their business, price better, deliver advisory service. So many valuable free resources that you give, and so thank you for that.
Thank you, Michael. I love being on the show.
It's great, always great to have you. And with that, we will wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.